So yeah, maybe Balaji is betting various people that Bitcoin will be $1 million by 90 days. And that's not because Bitcoin's going to go up. That's because the value of the dollar is going down. And
This is trolling at this point.
well, he is putting his money where his mouth is, which I think is,
I think Bitcoin's going to spike because that's what that algorithm does. It doesn't stay flat; it likes to spike, but it's going to make money.
well, it's never been past 60,000, right? So that's something to consider. I think his probably framework on this is, I think, the framework he's used before. And Adam Back, who many people think is Satoshi himself, actually replied to this thread, interestingly. And he said something one of my partners also pointed out, which is the amount you give up on something is proportional to the amount you gain on it as well. So by giving it up. So in essence, if you do the math, he's giving up it seems like $1 or $2 million. It's not clear if he's betting one person or two, but he's basically giving up $1 million, right? And if he fails, which he almost certainly will, let's say he has $100 million in Bitcoin. If his pronouncements raise the price of Bitcoin by 1%, he's broken even. And he's certainly got a lot of fanfare and gotten a lot of people to think about potential collapse of the American dollar, which would basically cause a global catastrophe. So he's already gotten, right, what he's asked for. In fact, he's gotten more than that. He's gotten 4%, right, out of it. So, in many ways, he's already up, assuming he has $100 million of Bitcoin. Some people say that he actually has quite a bit more than that he has billions of dollars of Bitcoin. Nobody can know for sure, of course.
Who, Balaji?
Yeah.
Sounds like he's just acting like a Bitcoin maxi would act.
Well, I think he's a Bitcoin maxi for sure. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's about it.
He's a maxi. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely interesting and weird, but how it'll all pan out. He's also sort of begging the question in a lot of ways that he's kind of trying to. And again, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth here, but having tangled with the government many times myself and kind of seeing the amount of pettiness that they'll not let up on certain things, and we're seeing that with Trump now, he's kind of trying to instigate a bank run, which isn't what I would want to be doing if I were him. He also gave a speech apparently this weekend where he said that one should leave the U.S. and not be in the U.S., which, depending on the day you ask me, is a sentiment I kind of share. Depending on the day you ask me, I don't share it at all, and I love this country. The more we do things like arrest President Trump, which I don't think he'd say that by accident. I think, there's a serious interest in doing that, knowing New York. I would call them law enforcement, but they're really politicians. So it would be a tragedy. And I think it would be a catastrophe. Balaji said it would be a civil war. Again, I think he's very, very smart, and a lot of the things that he's saying merit some thought, even if they are not going to result in the occurrence or happenstance that he's prognosticating, or just the possibility that it could occur is already food for thought. So we're talking about Balaji Srinivasan, who is, among other things, Coinbase's CTO, I think. And he's an investor in a variety of things. He's a writer and philosopher as well. He did an 8-hour podcast with Lex Friedman. So yeah, this.
Are you going?
Sorry.
Are you going on that one soon?
I am going to be on Lex sooner or later. I'm more focused on other things, I guess. But yeah, the Lex thing will help a lot. I don't know. I'm really glad I'm getting some positive press and attention, and the more talks I give, I gave this DSci talk in New York, I didn't get one heckler, I didn't get one person who was against me. It was just really nice to see a lot of support. And I think, to some extent, people will look back, hopefully, and say, oh, that person kind of got it wrong, got a bad rap or something like that. And, there's still a mountain to climb there. But I think as time has passed, there's a lot of tech leaders that have been able to sort of come out and be Martin fans, which I'm really, really lucky. Many of them were Martin, you want to use the word student, but followers, or some of them say clearly student of some of my YouTube finance videos. But regardless, I'm very grateful, and I just want to make great software that changes the world and makes me and my colleagues a lot of money, and is fun to make and fun to use, and if I can do that for the next 40 years, I think I'll have lived a good life. I'm not one of these people that has like delusions of grandeur. I don't think, at least, that they can bring about the second coming of AI or whatever. Maybe I have that delusion sometimes, but I love software. I love technology. I love learning this stuff, and it's just a pleasure to work on products like this. So if I can do this for the rest of my life, I'd be very, very happy. And somebody mentioned the other day that this is GPT-3 is MS-DOS 3.0, which I thought was a very funny thing. That this was like the landmark release that changes everything in technology. I think that's probably right. I think that the fact that I have this app is getting forming every single JSON well formed and giving me a correctly formed JSON summary of every article, and it can looks like an article every second or two. And if I train my own LLM, it could do it even faster.
It's based on DOS. That's very full circle,
Well, how do you mean?
Something's so widely used right now. So, considered advanced based on DOS, which is early.
Yeah, the person I've been talking about was like an old Microsoft person who said that they feel like ChatGPT or GPT-3, not even 4, but 3 was like they called it a silent nuclear moment. And by the time Windows came out, it was already crazy. And I remember that fever that existed in the 90s when we were all hooking our phones or basically our computers into the phone line with modems, and it was this Cambrian explosion of what can we do with this stuff. And it was you had 99% of people using it for the wrong things, and then 1% of people kind of and when I say the wrong things, I mean just stuff like entertainment and frivolous stuff, and then 1% of people building something really amazing. And now here you have something probably similar, although GPT-4 fills in a lot of the black spots, the dark spots of kind of what's been missing in computing from a cognitive perspective. So I think that you almost can't use GPT-4 frivolously. Isn't that funny? Normally with this kind of technology, with any new, I use the word Cambrian, but whatever, exponential explosion of technology, you're able to use it frivolously. Often a big mark of it is pornography. GPT-4 is almost like such a distilled, pure, dense form of productivity that can you really even use it frivolously? We've certainly tried many times. People use it for poetry. People use it for creating art in the form of other products, not GPT-4, obviously. I wouldn't call those frivolous either. But here, you're really talking about a great opportunity. Now, I have this large code base that creates a financial app. Some of you have tried it, called Godel, and there was a bug in Godel, and we have a programmer in London who's very good, but he's not 50 years or 20 years. I shouldn't say 50 years because nobody's 50 years. He's not 20 years in a programmer. He hasn't made any major libraries and the JavaScript ecosystem. He's just a regular old programmer. I think he's been at it for maybe as a professional 4 or 5 years. And GPT-4 could not fix the bug. And this was a very complex bug that was resulting in very unpredictable behavior. I spent at least 10 hours on this bug and could not get to the bottom of it. My partner, who's very, very, very smart, could not solve it in, say, 20 minutes, which automatically means it's a very complex problem. And the dude from London solved it slowly, methodically. It took him, I'm not sure how much time, but it took him a few days, and he was able to do it. I fed all of the code to GPT-4. It made some suggestions. I tried to employ the suggestions. It didn't work. I tried very hard to use GPT-4 to repair the code base. It did not work. So I think that we still are a ways away on LLMs. But the point I'm making isn't so much that sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work. I guess the point I'm making is that it really is a pure IV shot of productivity, which is kind of, I think, going to be as important as the productivity suite that Microsoft came out with, maybe more important than Excel and Word and PowerPoint and email, Outlook at least. It's kind of crazy to think that, because that explosion of productivity really changed the world, and it's going to put the U.S. on yet another economic growth curve that is going to further separate the haves and have-nots. What's up, Fanta? Fanta is one of my favorite developers, engineers. I guess they like to be called software engineers on the whole internet, but he's been MIA, hopefully working on something interesting. So we'll see if on Monday the whole economic system collapses. That's kind of what's at stake. I hope Balaji is wrong in some ways. Again, some very dark side of me wouldn't mind seeing this huge upheaval. I think it would be very scary and not fun for anybody, but that's why it's this 1%, kind of curiosity of, oh man, what would happen if the dollar collapsed and there was no money? And I think
intrusive thought, maybe.
Say it again.
Like an intrusive thought, of what if